It's Brian from DoLO the Get Together opening up a pack of War of the Spark. This is also the first box I've ever actually opened. I've never even seen this many packs at once. Let's get through the commons. We got Prison Realm, Price of Betrayal, Samut, Tyrant Smasher, and Single Combat. Paradise Druid, Angrath's Rampage, Kazmina, Enigmatic Mentor. That's cool. Commence the endgame. Bond of Discipline. Tap all creatures your opponents control. Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Pledge of Unity. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Gain 1 life for each creature you control. And Narset, Partner of the Veils. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your any order. That's a -2 for 5 total loyalty. You got Command the Dreadhorde. Choose any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them into the battlefield under your control. Zombie Army token. Merfolk Skydiver. When flying, when Merfolk Skydiver enters a battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Pay 5 to proliferate. That is cool. Does not tap. Lace Top Planting. Amass 1. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Heartwarming Redemption. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. You gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. We get Sarkhan the Masterless for a first rare planeswalker. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. Until end of turn, each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature token and gains flying. And for -3, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. That's pretty cool. You get a foiled Duskmantle Operative Common. Bond of Discipline. Tap all creatures your opponents control. Creatures you control gain lifelink. You've seen that guy. Vizier of the Scorpion. When Vizier of the Scorpion enters a battlefield, amass 1. Zombie tokens you control have Death Touch. I have a commander deck that's going in. Dod Pharaoh Statute. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses a life. We get Ral Storm Conduit, another rare planeswalker. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Ral Storm Conduit deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. +2 to scry 1, -2. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets. That's awesome. Shana's Triumph. Shana's Triumph deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Chandra's Triumph deals 5 damage to that permanent instead if you control a Chandra planeswalker. Gideon's Triumph. Target opponent sacrifices a creature that attacked or blocked this turn. If you control a Gideon planeswalker, the player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead. There you go. Look at Vraska, Swarm's Eminence. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a player or planeswalker, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. Create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch and Whenever this creature deals damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. Enter the God Eternals. Enter the God Eternals, deals 4 damage to the target creature and you gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard and amass 4. Evolution Sage. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. That's cool. A little landfall ability. Elite Guard Mage. Flying. When Elite Guard Mage enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Kaya, Bane of the Dead. Opponents and permanents your opponents control with hexproof can be the targets of spells and abilities you control, as though they didn't have hexproof. Exile target creature for -3. And Feather the Redeemed. Flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Bond of Passion. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. Bond of Passion deals 2 damage to any other target. Bond of Insight. Each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Return up to 2 instants and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Bond of Insight. We get Huatli, the Sun's Heart. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. You gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. And Finale of Devastation. Search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it into the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X and gain haste until end of turn. We have D-Spark. Exile target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Mawu, Loyal Companion. Trample Vigilance. If 1 or more 1/1 counters will be put on Mawu, Loyal Companion, that many +1 more are put onto it instead. We have Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And untap target permanent for to -1. We got Living Twister for a rare. Pay 1 in a red, discard a land card. Living Twister deals 2 damage to any target. For 1 green, return a tapped land you control to its owner's hand. Another Bond of Passion. Death Sprout. Destroy target creature. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it into the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Nieces Triumph. Search your library for up to 2 basic forests. If you control a planeswalker, instead search your library for up to 3 land cards. Reveal those cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. And we've got Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. It's a bit of a powerful move. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, draw a card. Draw 7 cards, then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. D-Spark. Exile target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Bolt Bend. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Change the target spell or ability with a single target. And you got Kaya, Bane of the Dead. And Time Wipe. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. Rally of the Wings. Untap all creatures you control. Creatures you control flying get +2/+2 until end of turn. 10th District Legionnaire. Whenever you cast a spell that targets 10th District Legionnaire, put a 1/1 counter on him, then scry 1. He has haste. Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has one or fewer cards in hand, Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage deals 2 damage to them. For -1, target player discards a card. We have Vivian's Arcbow. Pay X and tap, discard a card. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This is only 1 foil. Invoke Skydiver. Bond of Revival. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until your next turn. Grateful Apparition. When your apparition deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker. Proliferate. We have Vivian, Champion of the Wilds Planeswalker. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains Vigilance and Reach. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card and you may cast it as if it's a creature card. Augur Bolus. When Augur Bolus enters a battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Storm the Citadel. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker. Destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. Neoform. As an addition, it's an additional cost to cast a spell. Sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus a sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put the card into the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it, then shuffle your library. When we get Karn the Great Creator. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can't be activated. Until your next turn, up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness, each equal to its converted mana cost. You may choose an artifact card you own from outside of the game or in exile. Reveal that card and put it into your hand. You get a foil rare, enter the God Eternals. Enter the God Eternals does 4 damage to target creature, and you gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard and you amass 4. Cyclops Electromancer. When Cyclops Electromancer enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Heartwarming Redemption. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. You gain life equals to the number of cards in your hand. And Casmina, Enigmatic Mentor. Spells your opponents cast that target a creature or planeswalker you control, cost 2 more to cast, and create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token. Draw a card, then discard a card. And for another mythic, we get the Izarg the Raise Boar God. Trample. Whenever Izarg the Raise Boar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When Izarg the Raise Boar dies or is put into the exile from the graveyard, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. Lightline Prowler. Death Touch Lifelink. Add 1 mana of any color. Changeling Troll. Challenger Troll. Each creature you control with power 4 or greater can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Dovin Hand of Control. Artifact, instant, and sorcery spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast. Until your next turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by target permanent and opponent controls. We get a duplicate rare, a Feather the Redeemed again. We get a Sunblade Angel, Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink. He's got all the abilities. Price of Betrayal. Remove up to 5 counters from target artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent. For 1. We get another Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage. You get a Spark Double. You may have Spark Double enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it as if it's a creature. It enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker, if it isn't legendary, if that permanent is legendary. We get a foil Watley's Raptor. Vigilance: when Watley's Raptor enters the battlefield, proliferate. That worked pretty good with the raise board. Another Paradise Druid. Invade the city. Amass X, where X is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Samut Tyrant Smasher. Creatures you control have haste. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Scry 1. And Ravnica at War. Exile all multicolored permanents. Domri's Ambush. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Elite Guard Mage. Flying: when he enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, draw a card. Arlen, Voice of the Pack. Each creature you control that's a wolf or a werewolf enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Okay, Soul Diviner. Remove a counter from an artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker you control to draw a card. Eternal Skylord enters the battlefield in mass 2. Zombie tokens you control have flying. Whenever Cruel Celebrant or another creature or planeswalker you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Cruel Celebrant. Bolt Bend. We've seen that one. We get Nicol Bolas Dragon God. Is another mythic. When Nicol Bolas Dragon God has all loyalty abilities of all other planeswalkers on the battlefield. You draw a card. Each opponent exiles a card from their hand or a permanent they control for +1. -3, destroy target creature or planeswalker. And -8, each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game.
What, read that again?
Each opponent, it's his ultimate, each opponent who doesn't control a legendary creature or planeswalker loses the game. Chandra's Triumph, God Pharaoh's Statue, and Arlen with a role reversal. For rare, exchange control of 2 target permanents that share a permanent type. Johnny's Pridemate. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on a Johnny's Pridemate. This is a classic card. Invade the city. Amass X, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Teo the Shield Mage. You have hexproof. Create a 0/3 wall creature token with Defender for -2. And we get a Deliver Unto Evil. Choose up to 4 target cards in your graveyard. If you control a Bolas Planeswalker, return those cards to your hand. Otherwise, an opponent chooses 2 of them. Leave the chosen cards in your graveyard and put the rest into your hand. Exile Deliver Unto Evil. Jace's Triumph. Draw 2 cards. If you control Jace Planeswalker, draw 3 cards instead. Rescuer of Sphinx. Flying: when Rescuer of Sphinx enters the battlefield, you may return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Rescuer Sphinx enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Jaya, Venerated Fire Mage. If another red source you control will deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1 to that permanent or player instead. And we get the Lost. When the Lost enters the battlefield, draw a card. If it entered from your library or was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. When becomes a target of a spell, shuffle into its owner's library. FBLTHP. That's its name.
Have you seen other people pronounce it?
No, I'm just making things up as I go. That's how I would pronounce him. Eternal Skylord. There's Battlefield Mass 2. We've seen him. Flux Channeler. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. Sahili, Sublime Artificer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn. Except it's an artifact in addition to other types. And we get another Widespread Brutality. I've seen about 2 or 3 duplicate rares out of each box I've seen opened. Also usually like 2 foil rares, which is cool. Sunblade Angel, all the abilities. Devouring Hellion. As Devouring Hellion enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures and or planeswalkers. If you do, it enters with twice that many 1/1 counters on it. You got a Wanderer. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Use that in the pre-release too. Dreadhorde Invasion. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may lose 1 life and amass 1. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. Evolution Sage. Interplanetary Beacon. Whenever you cast a planeswalker spell, you gain a life. Tap to add a colorless, and pay 1 and tap to add 2 mana of different colors. So with this ability only to cast planeswalker spells, that makes it a little weaker. Tibalt, Rickish Instigator. Your opponents can't gain life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil creature token with, when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And we get a Neheb Dreadhorde Champion. 5/4 trample. Whenever Neheb Dreadhorde Champion deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Revolt Riders. Whenever Revolt Riders attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Gideon's Triumph. Target opponent sacrifices a creature that attacked or blocked this turn. If you control a Gideon Planeswalker, that player sacrifices 2 of those creatures instead. Ashiok Dream Render. Spells or abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then exile each opponent's graveyard. And we get another Time Wipe. We got Mayhem Devil. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Opponent sacrifices a creature. If you control Liliana Planeswalker, each opponent also discards a card. Liliana's Triumph. Jiang Yangu Wildcrafter. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has add 1 mana of any color. For 1, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. And we get Blast Zone. Enters battlefield with a charge counter on it. Tap to add mana. Tap 2x. Put X charge counters on Blast Zone. 3 and tap. Sacrifice Blast Zone. Destroy each non-land permanent with a converted mana cost equals the number of charge counters on Blast Zone. Also, if you put a 1/1 counter on a creature another way, you can't adapt either. Cyclops Electromancer. Dovin's Veto. The spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. Angrath Captain of Chaos. Creatures you control have menace. -2, amass 2. And Rolesk Apex Hybrid. Another mythic. Flying Trample. When Rolesk Apex Hybrid enters the battlefield, put 2/1 counters on another target creature you control. When Rolesk dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. Another cool Celebrant. Dreadhorde Twins. When Dreadhorde Twins enters the battlefield, amass 2. Zombie tokens you control have trample. Lahiri, Storm of Stone. As long as your turn, creatures you control have first strike and equip abilities you activate cost 1 less. Lahiri, Storm of Stone deals X damage to target tapped creature for -X. And in Ignite the Beacon, search your library for up to 2 Planeswalker cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. And keep that Bolas out. And Cosmina, Enigmatic Mentor, foil. Domri's Ambush, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. When Gleaming Overseer enters the battlefield, amass 1. Zombie tokens you control have Hexproof and Menace. And Ugin's Conjurant. When Ugin's Conjurant enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to Ugin's Conjurant while it has a 1/1 counter on it, prevent that damage and remove that many 1/1 counters from Ugin's Conjurant. Now we have Teferi Time Raveler. Each opponent can't cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. For +1 until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. And -3, return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Tybalt Ravager. When Tybalt Ravager dies, deals 1 damage to any target. Pay 2/1 in red. Tybalt Ravager gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Bond of Revival. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Gains haste until next turn. Kiora. And commence the end game again. Tyrant Scorn. Choose 1. Destroy target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less. Or return target creature to its owner's hand. Bond of Flourishing. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You gain 3 life. Ashiok Dream Renderer. And a Dreadhorde Butcher. Haste. Whenever Dreadhorde Butcher deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, put a 1/1 counter on Dreadhorde Butcher. When Dreadhorde Butcher dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Prison Realm. When Prison Realm enters the battlefield, exile target creature or planeswalker for an opponent controls until Prison Realm leaves the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Bond of Insight. Each player puts the top 4 cards of their library to their graveyard. Return up to 2 instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Bond of Insight. We get an Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted deals 1 damage to that player. And for -2, destroy target creature. Its controller draws 2 cards. And for another mythic, we get Niv Mizzet Reborn. The 5-color flying 6/6. When Niv Mizzet Reborn enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Cool card. Rail's Outburst. Deals 3 damage to any target. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Flux Channeler. Non-creature spells get you proliferate. Eternal Taskmaster. Enters battlefield tapped. Whenever Eternal Taskmaster attacks, you may pay 3. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And a Johnny the Great-Hearted. Creatures you control have Vigilance. You gain 3 life for +1 and -2. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you can control. You get an Enforcer Griffin, flying 3/4 foil. And for the last pack, Gateway Plazas, Jace's Triumph, Stop Plating, Narset partner, the Veils. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest onto the battlefield, onto the bottom of your library in any order. Battlefield would be cool. A duplicate Vivian's Arc Bow. The Zombie Warrior.
What are some of the best cards you think you pulled?
I mean, Nicol Bolas is definitely the best card. Also happy with Teferi Time Raveler.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talk about Teferi. Very good.
And where's that boar? I was hearing a lot of good things about Mr. Ray's boar. Yeah, I'll have fun making a deck out of these. Alright, that's it. Go ahead and check out the other videos we have.
And thanks for watching. Subscribe.